Hello, my name is Cindy, and I've made a few videos so far talking about my experience on the metabolic balanced diet. Uh, I have not been on here for some time. I made some videos initially of how I was feeling, and I did that especially because it was hard going on a diet at first. Anybody who's used to like eating whenever they want and they have to restrict themselves to go on a diet, that wasn't the easiest thing. And I was definitely taking advantage of keeping my time as busy as possible by recording some videos about my experience about being on a metabolic balanced diet. And I think nearly a week probably would have passed by now. So I just wanted to sort of make an update. So I'm the second week, and just to talk about what I've experienced so far. So the metabolic balance diet is a diet out of Germany. It's a very specific plan that you do with a blood test, and then you get a coach, and then you get a plan made up based on your blood results. And then the plan is that you eat 3 times a day, and you leave quite amount of space in between your meals. And what else? What else? So it's basically you have to measure out in grams how much you're supposed to be eating. So um, I did follow the plan, and I sort of found this was my personal experience. So I'm only pretty much making this video to help anybody else who wants to try this diet and talk about their experience, and talk about my experience on this diet, because I always find it helpful if I want to, do something, that if somebody had their opinion, how they felt about it beforehand. So I think it's a very good plan. I'm definitely impressed with it. I just did a slight alteration. So my experience was that, 3 meals a day, and you're measuring out your meals, and they are very small. And I sort of found that the hunger that I was experiencing was really severe. And so what I decided to try to do is I just tailored it to me, and I don't know if the company would recommend this or what my coach thinks or if anybody else is doing this, but what I decided to do is cut my meals down to 2 meals a day and eat the same amount that I would eat in each meal, but put it into one meal. Does that make sense? So basically not 3 meals a day, but like 2 meals, and then what I would have eaten in the first one combined with the second one. So say lunch and dinner at 5 o'clock. So lunch at 12, dinner at 5. And what I'm doing is, so I'm not eating between 5 and then sort of fasting all the way through to 12 the next day. And I'm finding when I have those long periods fasting, I'm not as hungry. Something about eating a small meal activates my hunger. And actually, I thought to myself, well, right, because I think it's quite well known, or should be more well known, the benefits of fasting for long periods. I think the sort of status quo opinion about that is that, you should have a small meal every 2 or 3 hours to keep what they call, quote unquote, keep your blood sugar from going too low. But there's another school of thought which says, if you actually fast, get used to fasting, get yourself used to that, it's actually quite good for you because your insulin stays low, and then your other hormones can come out, do their job, and not be blocked by the insulin levels, and you have a chance to burn the fat. So I basically found that, so if I would have eaten at 5 o'clock the day before and slept all through the night, and then even, I wasn't even hungry for breakfast, and then I would go ahead and just combine that into my lunch at 12. So I would eat at 12, so 5 fasting all the way till 12. And then my dinner at 5 again. So 2 meals instead of 3 actually works better for me than 3 small meals. I found that worked a lot better. So if anybody's experiencing that now, I don't know why. I haven't really asked my coach if that's seriously a big issue, but my common sense sort of says, well, if you're getting the same amount in there and you have that even more fasting time, where you can burn fat and your hormones can do their job, then I don't see why it should be a problem. That's how it personally panned out for me, and I would actually try to take that on as a permanent sort of eating habit where possible. I mean, obviously from time to time, if you're out socially and you want to eat dinner, or if you want to meet somebody for breakfast, it's not going to kill you from time to time, but I think as a general rule, that's the way I'd want to do it. I did, however, find that if I had a black coffee, say for breakfast, say at 7 o'clock, that had made me had a lot more energy. And then I found myself going out and running and jogging. I've started looking after a dog, so I take it out for a lot of walks, 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. It's hot where we live. So I've found that I actually have more energy. I've actually come home, want to clean the entire house as well. I could do more there, but I found that's quite effective for me. So basically, I'm finding that having my breakfast a black coffee lunch at 12, where I doubled up where I would have had for breakfast into the lunch at 5 o'clock, my last meal. And then I'm not that hungry in the evening. I'm more hungry in the earlier day. So there we go. That's me. That's how I personally have found the plan, and I've adjusted it slightly for me. And actually, I think we're so far so good. I mean, when I the first 2 weeks, they said they don't want you to exercise, but I kind of, my intuition was saying if I didn't get up and start exercising a bit more, that things were not going to start to shift. So I am, when I'm walking the dog, I try to break into a jog now. I mean, this is coming from someone who's felt quite sort of weak and tired and sedentary, like not motivated, like wanting to be kind of at home, sitting on the couch and hard to get going. I mean, like for different reasons, they say vitamin D levels or whatever. And so long story short, I've been to a lot of doctors to see what the issue is. And so then I've seen an endocrinologist, rheumatologist, gastroenterology, different things. But there was another doctor who's very good here. He actually does internal medicine, general practice. And he at one point had asked me, how about fatty liver? And he said, okay, well, go to your other doctors and gather everything together and come back to me. And because of being on the metabolic balanced diet, they give you a blood test, and and what it'll do is it'll flag up if something's wrong. And it flagged up that I would have a sugar metabolism issue, which had been confirmed by an endocrinologist, and that, you know, I was getting type 2 diabetes, which I'm sure enough of the population is finding such a thing happening to them nowadays. But this one doctor, I mean, I've been to a lot of different ones, and no one had ever really thought to ask about the liver. Like he'd said, this really great doctor, so grateful to have seen him, you know, and having good insurance to do so. I know that's very lucky. Had suggested, what about fatty liver? So I'd gone around and kind of got any sort of documents that I could gather. And he said, okay, why don't we just do a fell swoop, do a bunch of blood tests, and why don't we get an ultrasound? So if anybody knows about fatty liver, there's 2 ways to find it. You can do it through blood work. Some results can show something going on there. But another way to do it is through ultrasound, where they take a picture and they can actually see if the liver is fatty or not. Now, just to say what I know about fatty liver is that it's something you can get from your family. I mean, you can inherit this condition from your family members. But also, it can be caused by alcohol abuse and people who drink too much. It's quite well known that your liver takes a punishing, but you can also get it. I don't drink hardly at all, so that's not my situation, but you can inherit the condition. And also to say, you don't have to be obese to have fatty liver. You can be slim and also have fatty liver, okay? So I went and had my ultrasound today, and I think is the radiologist, the person who does ultrasound, said, okay, this was the results. Yes, you do have a fatty liver. And to my relief, she said, you've caught it just in time. You've caught it right at the borderline where you can start to reverse it just before you would start to have damage. So what happens is the liver gets full of, the cells get full of fat. The liver, she said, is the metabolism. The liver gets full of fat cells that absorb too much fat in the cells. They start getting tired. They can't work so much. They can't work as well as they should. You start working on sort of compromised capacity. And then what would happen would be, if you were to continue with bad eating or not work on the situation, it would get more and more increasingly like that, to where you would start to get nodules, and you'd start to get, so I think, sort of scarring and build up. They would turn into hard nodules. And then she said sometimes then the liver would shrink and stop working, and then later on you would have extremely difficult health problems. And it was pointed out to me that, oh, you know, when I mentioned to one of my family members about fatty liver, as soon as I found out my results today, they said, oh, that's what George Michael, that was something reported in the news, that was one of the causes of death for George Michael. So, but I don't know in what capacity he had that condition, or how much he knew about the fact that he had that condition. I do not know. But the thing is, she said to me, so you do have fatty liver, and you're just at the borderline where you can correct it now. If you would have carried on any further, you would have started to have damage. And she explained to me how the liver behaves. She said it's not enlarged and it's not shrunken. It's a good size, and you're really literally just at the borderline where you can now start to reverse it. And I explained to her how this one doctor, I was really grateful that he had suggested to look into that. This is why I'm also making this video, because I think it's, having a chat with my family members. We think it's sort of something that's maybe taken for granted. Maybe doctors don't look at it. I mean, we looked at, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, sort of autoimmune, anything that makes you tired. So say like autoimmune issues, what else? I mean, obviously the diet, going towards diabetes can make you feel very unwell, very tired, and different conditions. But nobody really thought to think about, what about the state of your liver? And I just probably think that there's a lot of people out there who, could have a compromised liver function, and they should ask their doctor or practitioner, especially if it's something like ultrasound, which is cheap and easy and painless to do, to have that checked and have that looked at, because I mean, it is something I think is underestimated, and which compounds into the, today's lifestyle where we're encouraged, or we're told actively by nutritionists that we need to snack, that we need to have a snack every couple of hours, even if it's a healthy snack, like say some almonds, a piece of cheese, an apple, whatnot. I'm kind of really of the belief now that you don't need any snacks. You shouldn't have the snacks. It's actually, so if you want a dessert, like have your meal, have your dessert all together in one fell swoop, and then have a good break of time in between your meals. So, 4 or 5 hours, 3.5, 4 or 5 hours in between your meal. I don't know for children, but I'm now suggesting to my elder son that he should have a good 4 hours in between his meal. If he wants dessert, have it right after you eat, and then stop, and then let it a good amount of time pass before you're having your next meal. And it's been suggested, as I said, in the UK, though, this is how we eat. It's the old-fashioned way, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, no snacking in between. And I always thought that was such a, that was just so mean, and it was just unfair, and it's what a boring life, and that's not correct, because as I said, that maybe you find the same. A lot of nutritionists say you should have snacks, every few hours to keep your blood sugar on a good level, but I think it's actually people should take into consideration quite the opposite could be the case. And going on this metabolic balanced diet has retrained me, has re-educated me, has retrained me, it has saved me in a way so that the results of my blood test spurred me to go back to this doctor, and we looked into it further, and we took action and found indeed that yes, I do have this condition, fatty liver, and we need to reverse it now. And I asked my doctor if it can be treated, obviously, with medicines, and he said no. The best way to do it is just to lose that weight all through the area surrounding the liver first, and then into the liver, and then that fat will be burnt up, and that's pretty much the only way to do it. So the lady who took the ultrasound said, I explained to her what I'm doing. I'm fasting for long periods. I'm eating no fats or oils, except for, like, say I have some sheep's cheese, which has, it's not like, it's just whatever fat's in the sheep cheese. Everything else has no fat in it, and I intend to eat this way for quite some time. Because in the plan, they say, like, for 2 weeks, you don't have to have any oils. And, people are talking about oils, and I'm sure that's great. But I think because my situation is pretty drastic, that I really need to reverse the situation with my liver, that my opinion personally is that I do not want to be having any fats or oils in my diet probably for at least 6 months. And we'll see if it needs to carry on for a year. And I'm happy this way. I'm feeling perfectly fine. My skin's better. See, because also another, you're drinking a lot of water. You're flushing out tons of water. But another thing to keep in mind, I think I mentioned in another video, is a nutritionist on the metabolic balance had explained that when you have the insulin, which is blocking not only fat burning, but it's blocking other hormones to be able to do their job. And one of them is, I think, the human growth hormone. I said I was going to look into this before. I still haven't got a complete lowdown on that, and I really need to do that to see what other hormones. But basically, the long and short of it is that when that insulin is active, overly active, because every single time you eat, and whether it has sugar or not, insulin is activated, and when that's in operation, the other hormones cannot come out and do their job. So, as far as not having oils in my diet, I'm not missing it at all. I'm really not missing it at all, and I'm feeling more energetic, and then the whole goal is to do more exercise and fast long periods, so that during those fasting periods you can burn the fat and the other hormones can come out and do their job. So I'm not missing that at all. Caffeine is now my new friend. Black coffee, black tea. And one of my favorite things to eat on this diet, they talk about, one of the things is you have an apple every day. And I talked about something as simple as keeping on the skin for the apples. I've been peeling those skins off, And recently I started having apples with the skins on, and I think there was some research that was showing that actually the apple skins have a huge health benefit and can help fat burning, more filling, and I just feel really energized when I have apples with the skins on. It sounds really simple. I used to eat them that way, and when I had less of a weight issue. So try that, but wash them off. Wash the skins really well. I have a fruit and vegetable cleaner. I explained using Arm & Hammer's fruit and vegetable cleaner. So I don't have to fear that, but that's really helping a lot. And I think if you do look it up, there is something connected to keeping the skins on the apple that helps a lot. So that's been a nice thing to incorporate. And so, yeah, and rye, no wheat, rye vita, the different, or say wasa bread, or Fin Crisp, I think is another one. That's great. And you're allowed up to 4 slices of those a day, at least on my plan. And you have the say with the protein, your rye, and vegetable, and your fruits. And then you can have coffee or tea at the same time of your meal. And the rest of the time in between, nothing, just water, sparkling water. And I do chew some gum from time to time if I have hunger pangs, which is fine. I think mint gum, there's no problem there. And I've been getting good reactions just of late when I started kicking in with a bit more of the exercise. People say they can see my face a little bit less puffiness, a little bit slimmer face. My family said they can see a change in my figure a little bit, losing some weight. I have not been able to weigh myself yet or go to the place where I had my body fat taken, so I would like to be able to check up on where my weight is if I've officially lost anything. And I haven't done that. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not even that big a deal to weigh yourself. It's just how you feel, how you look, and how your clothes are fitting and whatnot. So anybody who's interested in doing the metabolic balanced diet, so far, I would recommend it. You may at some point want to alter it like I have done. I really don't know if I'm breaking the rules that way, but it's just what I found what works for me. I'm less hungry, and I don't want agony of feeling like I'm pining for food. I really dislike that a lot. It's really interferes with you getting on with your business and affairs. And then behaviorally, a lot of people have said because they're not snacking and they're not feeling lethargic, they're doing a lot more. People say they're organizing more, they're being more active. I think of all the things I can do before I used to go straight for food and drink when I was bored or not happy or worried about anything. And now I'm just thinking, what can I do? Can I wash the dishes? Can I organize something? Can I do the laundry? Can I mop the floor? Can I watch something on TV? Can I email someone? Anything. Instead of reaching for food and drink, which some people out there in the world might be doing the same as I was doing. And it's nice to be able to change your behavior to something a lot more positive. And the people around me, everyone loves a busy, energetic person. That's a fact. So moving in the right direction. I'll try to give an update soon when I know any official like weight loss or fat loss. What else? If there's any other things I think are important that need to be addressed, that I just want to say to anybody, if I can just even, inform or help one person out there, it's worth it for me to do that. It's not easy, in my opinion, to make YouTube videos. It's not easy to sit here and talk about these things. It's not easy to talk about conditions, but if I can help anybody or give them an idea or kind of recommend something they're not sure if they want to try, then this is my intent for doing this. So I hope you all are doing well. And if you do want to try metabolic balance, do give it a try. If there's any conditions that you're not sure about, and you might think there's some here that you want to look into because you didn't think about that before, then great. I hope you're well, and I will speak to y'all later. It's Cindy here, and speak to you soon.